Hello, my name is Barbara Field, and welcome to my channel, The Journey of Grief, Becoming Us Without Them. I started this page to try to collect resources for people that are grieving all kinds of losses. So I like to interview grief experts, people who have worked through grief, are new in grief. Just I want everyone to know that the way you're grieving is just right. And hopefully you will find something on this channel that will inform and assist you in grief, however it's affecting your life. And today I've invited JoAnn Liu to come and be with us to talk to us about grief. So JoAnn, how about if you introduce yourself and tell us about your work and how all of that relates to grief.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to go on your channel, Barbara, and for this opportunity to talk about something that's close to my heart. Um, so I'm JoAnn, and I'm the founder of my company, my practice in holistic wellness approach to healing. My company is Living as Whole. And how I came about this is I was previously a mental health counselor back in my home country in Malaysia. And after becoming a mom, I put the, put the hat, hung my head away for a while. And through the evolution of, my motherhood journey, I actually uh, looked into getting trained in nutrition, holistic nutrition, and then from there into emotional healing, trauma work, somatic work, and spinal flow as well. And that's how I actually came to develop this business that I'm in right now to work in holistic wellness and looking at how to feel your best and feel like who you are at the core by looking at the whole person. Yeah.
That's great. That sounds wonderful. So say more about that.
So, what I currently do is that I work with somebody from looking at what they are dealing with, particularly nervous system work, and I do this with somatic practices. That the one that you're very familiar with, somatic experiencing. I'm currently getting through the training. Also, I use supportive touch using spinal flow technique, which is relatively new still in the States, so not many people have heard of it. I have more of this information on my website, but basically, what we do is that we help people connect with their nervous system um, through a very gentle touch to help them um, connect with what is stored inside their body, because a lot of times we all have this innate ability to heal ourselves from whatever it is that we're dealing with, but the stressors, the trauma that we've experienced that we have never had the opportunity to work through is stored in our body, in our nervous system, that puts us into this either stuck in the flight or fight mode or in the shutdown mode, then therefore our body isn't able to tap into that healing ability. So we use spinal flow technique to gently help a person move into that mode of being able to heal and feel their best. So that is one of the things that I do, as well as looking at what is it in their life, whether it's their emotional stresses or their relationship or nutrition that is actually um, they may need to work on to support that healing. Yeah.
So say more about the spinal fluid technique that you use because it is so new. I would
Yeah.
guess most people have never heard of it.
Yeah, the spinal flow technique is it's developed by Dr. Carly Expert. She was a chiropractor. She's based in Australia, but after years of working in that industry, she realized that when people come for adjustments, they you have to keep coming back, to continue to do adjustments because it isn't really really working on the root cause of why the this misalignment, why the issues to begin with. So over time, she developed this method to help us use a very gentle approach instead of manipulation, which can be supportive for some people. But this approach is more gentle on the body because our body, from her own research and her own work, she realized that our body actually has, can tap into this ability. Just us as facilitator helping them connect with that from a place of safety so that they know that the body is now safe, in a safe environment, in a safe connection with the practitioner, to be able to tap into that, and they no longer need to be stuck in that flight or fight mode or that shutdown mode. Yeah.
That's great. So kind of describe what it would be like if someone came to see you, what would happen the first appointment and ongoing, how would you work with an individual?
Okay, so usually what happens is I will normally have a chat with a person first, just to see what are they trying to address, what are their concerns, and then in the session we will go through like the history and the background, what could have caused the person to be in the state that they're in, and then we'll do a comprehensive assessment on the body. Like I don't know, put them on the table to find out where could there be stresses that are what we call blockages along their body that could have created that issue. For example, insomnia, or migraine, a headache. Oftentimes there are blockages along the cervical C1, C2 here, or if there are a lot of respiratory issues, allergies, asthma and all that, they could be blockages along their, heart center, where your important organs are, your lungs, your heart. So then let's say sciatica, often there could be blockages along the lower part of the body, the pelvic area, the sacrum, because it basically is preventing our nerves from getting the information, the nutrients, and all that our body needs to be able to get into this restorative healing capacity. So, and then from there, sharing with the client what could be the issues and how we could use spinal flow to support the body to move into the healing mode. Yeah.
So let's specifically then nail that down to grief. So if someone comes in and they're working on grieving a substantial loss, what what would you expect to see? What could they expect to do? What does it look like to use this to support someone who's grieving?
That's interesting because um, normally people won't like come in and say, "Oh, I have grief that I want to work with," because they will probably go to see a therapist, right, or grief specialist. So people will commonly come in and say, "I have this pain or that issue, or I can't sleep, or I just feel this and that." So they come in with symptoms, not necessarily the grief. And from work, talking to them and exploring what could be part of their lived experience that could have contributed to grief, because grief is a, a very natural, experience. It is when the grief isn't allowed to be processed, when it's stuck, that contributes the issues that they may be experiencing, the symptoms that they may be experiencing. So oftentimes they don't come in explicitly with that. Yeah, so it's more like, I have this problem, I can't sleep, I feel really angry all the time, or things like that. And then by looking at their history and then feeling their body while I'm working with them on the table, and the grief, when the body is able to feel safe enough, that naturally comes up. I have had a lot of clients that naturally feel safe enough to allow that to emerge on the table and allow that to flow through. And then when they come out of the session, when they sit up and when they talk to me, that's when we process it. That's when we talk about what was that, if they wanted to, what was that like, what was it, and then from that process that through the to the regulate co-regulation in between the two of us. So yeah, they don't generally come outright and say, I want to work with grief. Yeah.
they come with symptoms of emotional blockages.
Yeah.
When you release those, then
Hmm.
what's really going on is able to just process and move through their body.
Yeah. So, for example, a very recent experience with a client, and a male client, because of most of the time, majority male clients will not explicitly process the grief with a person. And in the session itself, we didn't even talk about that much, but in the session itself, it emerged because his body finally felt safe enough to allow that to be present, and he was able to connect with that and allow that to move through. And when he came up, he felt all that, and then he was able to take steps to allow that to move through. What did he want to do to honor that and make space for that? So that was beautiful to see, especially coming from a male client that may not openly want to address that, you know? Yeah.
So is that's more typically what you see is as you're addressing symptoms and you create safety in their body and their body kind of lets down its defenses, then things that have been stuck naturally process. So
Yes.
you start out with processing their body and they end up processing emotions
Yeah.
that have been stuck.
Yeah, because emotions generally are the kind of the most challenging to for most people to process. So it's usually the physical blockages, physical part, or then the chemical stuff that comes out, and they feel good. And then when they allow, and they feel comfortable and safe in the session, that they allow that to naturally emerge, and it just like process through organically without. So I think a lot of them feel, a lot of clients that may not want to go to talk to somebody in therapy, they feel like this is it may be safer for them because it felt like I don't have to go and talk about it to allow it. But once I've allowed it, I can actually decide if I want to talk about it and process it more with someone or with me. So I think this is like meeting them where they're at, where they're what they're ready to allow to be present. Yeah.
Great. So, like, are there some oftens about people who are grieving? Like, often people who are grieving show up like this, or, um, there's some stuff. Often in grief, there's insomnia, there's some oftens. And so, do you have some sweeping generalizations about grieving people that are kind of often I see?
Mm, that's an interesting question. I generally don't, maybe I've not really thought of it that way, but when there are a lot of emotions, including grief, it's very often stored in the heart center, the like I said, the center gateway, or if you're familiar to chakra, the heart center. So yeah, you see people with, let's say, difficulty breathing, or they have heart issue. That's common. Um, what else is common? Sometimes there are some people that come in with a lot of anger, but it's not expressive anger, it's repressive anger, because like the grief could usually grief is tied to other things as well. It's not just plain like grief. It's like it's tied to anger, for example, and then you see inflammation, and if you can feel the inflammation, if I see the gut inflammation, or it's tied to a lot of guilt that often comes with a lot of like digestive issues too. So yeah, that's what I've seen so far. But every single one of them is different. Like I said, because the grief isn't just grief; it's often
Right.
tied to so many other things. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and often like when my husband first died, it just felt like everything was kind of on fire and tight. There was
Mm,
just no separating things. It was just a giant mass of horrible. And like you would have to chip it with an ice pick to get the pieces loose.
Yeah, it's like so contracted because and usually if the grief is not, there's no space for it to be there. For example, if you're losing someone, you have people to take care of, you have young kids to take care of, other things to attend to, like another elderly parent that you need to take care of. There are those things that then prevent you from actually allowing space to grieve fully. I had a client that just shared with me yesterday, like having lost her dad, but she was dealing with her own treatment for cancer and all that, and that there isn't like room or capacity to allow that to be there, and if there are also family dynamics that comes into play, and it's just there's so much that we tend to then okay stuff it down, deal with the rest, and then sometimes we forget that we have stuffed it down that we didn't address, and then years later something else trigger that, and that comes out like it felt like out of nowhere, but it's been there. It just was never attended to. Yeah.
Right. So as you do what you do and just get the body to relax and open up, then it just naturally wants to
Hmm.
process.
Yeah, and it goes like layer by layer. Sometimes it's whatever is the feels the most accessible for the client at that point in time. It gets we attended to, and then as you move, it moves deeper and deeper and deeper into the layers. Yeah.
So you mentioned somatic experiencing,
Yeah.
yeah, that you're in the training for somatic experiencing. How are those similar based on what you've learned so far? And why are you learning somatic experiencing when you already do this?
Okay. So because I was previously practicing a therapist, but that was more, neck up. It was very focused on, and that made sense to me then because I was also neck up, never really paid attention to my body. So as I learn more and more and working in with spinal flow on the nervous system, my appreciation of how much the body has the capacity to heal us, and just how amazing the body shows us all these things that we just never pay attention to because we give so much credit to our intellect and our ego. And I wanted to know more of how to support a client beyond just working, because sometimes personally I feel like for me, having experienced spinal flow, having experienced all these different modalities, I always believe that it's not just one thing, it's not just one for everyone. So for someone who comes in, spinal flow might be all they need, you know but for someone with deeper trauma, spinal flow may be the opening to allow the nervous system to like settle into that sense of safe, beginning to settle into that sense of safety in the body. And then having this skill, this knowledge of somatic experiencing can allow me to support them in building their capacity to then navigate what else arises. So yeah, I feel like I working in the whole body approach, not just one thing, allows me to support the client wherever they're at as they move through their healing journey. Yeah.
Well, so somatic experiencing facilitates deeper trauma processing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
definitely. Yeah, and I feel like the more I learn about all this, the more I'm able to, and a lot of this learning about somatic experience is also for myself to develop the capacity to be with, and also to tap into my own nervous system, because I feel like when I'm able to do that, I'm able to be with the client way better, way more present in the session, and I've felt the difference having gone through like the beginning of the somatic experiencing training. My ability to be with the client in the session through spinal flow has expanded so much more because I'm able to be with myself in the session. Yeah.
that's great.
Mhm.
So, Um, I always, in my interviews, I always ask people, so like if people just ignored this whole interview and you could leave them with one thing, if people walked away understanding one thing from this, what would you want that 1 minute of wisdom to be?
Hmm. Um, so if anyone along that's going through their own healing journey, um, just first, like a lot of us are trying because there's so much information out there about nervous system, about self-regulation, hacks and tools and all this stuff, which are great as a support. Um, what I've learned is because I started doing all those stuff, self-regulate and all that, but what I've learned is that co-regulation with somebody who feels safe comes before self-regulation, and we're not meant to do this by ourselves entirely, you know. So finding somebody whom you feel safe or you resonate with, relatively safe with, and working with that person to help you develop your own self-regulation through the co-regulation will be helpful for you in your healing journey. So whatever modality resonates with you, maybe it's spinal flow, maybe it's somatic experiencing, maybe it's some body work, whatever that is, but finding somebody who resonates with you and you can work with will support, I find, support you in your healing journey the most. Yeah.
That's great. I totally agree. We're supposed to learn co-regulation with mom and dad first, and
Mm-hmm.
then go out and make our way still with other people, but with more resources inside that I can pull from. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And because sometimes in this culture that we're in, we feel like we have to figure it ourselves, that which is why there was issue to begin with, you know, because we're so isolated and trying to figure it ourselves, that the more we need this, you know, being able to co-regulate with someone and feel safe that out there, that we can learn to feel safe in here. Yeah.
that's great. Well, thank you so much. It was great learning about what you do. And so, your contact information, if people want to contact you for an appointment, will be in the show notes. And I'm just really glad I got to meet you and hear about what you do.
Thank you so
And
much.
I'm going to turn off the recording.